All right, nothing much else to say much different than what I talked about after the game, after the Georgia game. Same sentiments. When you go back and you look at the tape, with that being said, an offense that at times really I thought moved the ball quite well and made some plays against a really good defense in a tough place to play. I thought minus a couple of interceptions, I thought Anthony played pretty good again. Had another 100 yards rushing, another almost 200 yards passing. Turnovers were critical early in the game, along with kicking game mistakes. Once we weathered that storm, we was able to settle down for the next quarter and a half, and then once we cut it to 21-7 at halftime, and then had it 21-7 midway through the third, and had the ball at their 40-yard line. That was the turning point. We didn't convert the fourth down at their 40 as we were driving, and from that point on, the game, pretty much shifted out of reach. We battled back late though. Kids kept fighting, and I thought played pretty competitive ball at times. Defensively, we didn't tackle very well. That was I thought the worst we had tackled this year. We gave up more big plays than we had given up. But we did get after the run. I thought we stopped the run in the interior, and so they hit all the big plays got most of their yards on the big reverse plays where they went outside. They hurt us on the perimeter with the run game. I thought we fit the inside run pretty good at times. So, but love the fight in our kids, and to be honest with you, still saw offensively another day of improvement minus some turnovers coming in there in the first half. This week, big game here, Cajun Field, last home game of the season, senior day, a chance for our fans to get to see one of the greatest, if not the greatest player in Raging Cajun history play his last game at Cajun Field in Elijah McGuire. I would hope that everybody would really come out and send him off in a way that he could really be proud that he was a Raging Cajun. And I expect to obviously see a great crowd supporting him and the rest of those seniors when they start pregame activities. I think about 12 minutes prior to kickoff, so you're talking about 10:45. Would love to see some people in the stadium really cheering when you see the likes of Elijah McGuire, a fifth-year senior, and Al Rouse, some guys that our fans have seen develop throughout their career and some of the things that they have brought to our university. So I'm excited about these guys. And then a big contest, obviously, to me, both teams have a lot riding on this game. With that being said, Arkansas State's trying to become outright conference champions, and then we're trying to stay in bowl contention as we continue moving forward toward that goal. They've got an outstanding team. They've really turned their season around and have been perfect in Sun Belt play after starting 0-4. They have really gotten on a roll and are playing really good football. They've got an outstanding front that has really caused a lot of havoc throughout the league, and so that will be a challenge. And they've always got a lot of skilled players, and they do a really good job there. And so it'll be a big challenge on Saturday, but should be an exciting Sun Belt Conference game to say the least. So with that, any questions?
Have you had a chance to see them enough where you can tell sort of what they've done to sort of turn it around?
Well, one thing they've, if you go back and you look, their quarterback was new. He's sort of gotten his feet wet a little bit, and they've just come together a little bit as an offense. They've got some new faces. We've seen so many of the Freddie Knightons and guys that you just seem like it was there forever. And they've got a lot of new faces with their running back, their quarterback, some of their skill guys. Offensively, a lot of new faces, and they're really starting to gel offensively in the second half of the season, and I think that was a lot of their resurgence. They've really been strong defensively already most of the year, and Joe Calton does a great job defensively, and obviously know him well. Know the whole staff well. They do a really good job there, and so they've improved each week.
What about handling Troy as well? What did they do so exceptionally well that no one else
haven't really been able to do against Florida?
Well, Troy had 5 turnovers, and so that's a critical part of the game. So they definitely won the turnover battle, caused 5 turnovers, got some short fields. They converted a fake punt, which is sort of like another turnover. So you're talking about stealing 6 possessions right there, and they went in there and really got after a really good Troy team. So you're talking about a really good football team that's really playing awfully well.
Bring up the fake punt, and it's something that they seem to like to do a lot. Is that an extra emphasis this week?
Oh yeah, you would think so. So they're pretty good at that. They cause a lot of problems with a lot of formations. So you've got to spend a lot of time in your preparation with all the punt formations to make sure you're sound. And so that's always a challenge with those guys.
With the quarterback getting banged up in that game when Wojtek comes in, how does the defensive approach change with those two?
Well, as far as our defense approach yet, I don't know how that would change for us yet. We're still, early in the game planning stages. But they've got 2 different quarterbacks that they've used this year. One can really throw it. One's a little more mobile, and so, but both have been effective, and so. But they can run the football. They're a well-coached team. They can run the football, and then they're a big play team too now. They like going for the big plays, and so we're going to have to do a good job of keeping them in front of us, and also trying to stop the run.
How much did the wind affect those big plays on Saturday?
The wind probably affected the kicking game more than just the offense. I didn't think it affected the offense. The only thing it did, it knocked down Anthony's pass right before half. Mike Jacquette had beat the corner down the sideline and another foot, and it may be 21-14 at halftime. And it was just a little bit underthrown. I think the wind knocked it down a little bit, but I didn't think the wind affected the passing game as much as I really thought for either team. But when the ball got up really high on the kickoffs, you could see that it really held up the balls, and the balls really dropped short. And so our returners did a really good job of handling the balls in those situations. But it did create a little bit of uncertainty at times.
If Jacquette can't go, or what is his status? If he can't go, and Bradley can't go, then what?
Well, I definitely think Jamarcus is going to be ready to go this week, and he's just got to get a little more confidence on it. I think he's going to be fine, and we think Mike's going to be fine. We'll get a little better eval today, but nothing structurally is wrong. He's just got to get healed back up and get ready to go. So that was a plus, and so knowing that nothing structurally is damaged, and so we need him to be ready to go because we need to be at full speed. Me and Gary sat down and met, and obviously everybody wants to play. And there's only one football, and I think there's a lot of factors. One, I think he wanted to get a little bit closer to home, wants to be a little more involved in the game plan. And so obviously I wish Gary well, wish only the best for him and his future, and he'll do an outstanding job wherever he ends up transferring to. But obviously he has withdrawn and asked for his release, and he'll be leaving the program immediately.
Assuming that Fusile might see some more action because of that possibly, why hasn't he been used any more than he has this season? And then also
Talking about Gabe?
Talking about Gabe,
Yeah.
and then related somewhat with Al, he's made some big plays obviously the last couple games, but he wasn't nearly as involved earlier in the season. Why not on him in terms of just getting him more touches earlier?
Talking about Al? Yeah, well, I think Al, for the most part this year, has been pretty involved. I thought he's had a pretty good hand, and for the most part the whole season. It may have been a game or two midway through there, but you go back and you look at South Alabama and some of the early games, he had some big plays, and we've really tried to get him the ball. He's probably been getting about anywhere between 7 and 10 touches a game with catches, runs on some of the sweeps and things, and then the passes, and so he's been a big part of it. Gabe is a guy that had a big catch the other night. I was really proud of him, and he's just been a swing guy he just does his job, and then seeing him make that big play was exciting. So if anybody we need to get a little more involved, it'd be Gabe. He's been very patient. He's worked awfully hard, and he stepped up and made a critical, great play the other night.
In the last few years, you guys have been vying for the Sun Belt crown. What's it like being in the spoiler role this time around?
Well, we don't like being the spoiler. We'd rather not be the spoiler. We'd rather be people spoiling us. But nevertheless, this is somewhat of a rivalry game, I think, for both programs, and I think both teams like competing against one another. We've had some very spirited games in the past, and our kids, enjoy competing against those guys. And like I said, Blake does a really good job there, and Buster Faulkner, the offensive coordinator, I'm very familiar with back when he was at Valdosta State and I was at North Alabama, and so know their staff, and they've got a great staff, and they've got an outstanding program. So it makes it fun to compete against those guys each year, because you're going to get their best, and we're going to try to give them our best, and so it's always an exciting game.
You said a season high in rushing against an SEC defense. What did you see from your offensive line that you can build on?
I thought our offensive line, you go back and look at the tape, played one of their better games of the year. Even the Georgia coaches complimented those guys on how well they played, how they looked, how they played. We didn't give up many sacks. I can't remember exactly how many, maybe one. And got pretty good movement, was able to get the ball outside. They did a good job on the perimeter blocking also. And Elijah, had 128, 130 yards rushing against a very good front. We knew coming in was one of the best fronts in the SEC. And so in a tough place to play. So I was proud of our offensive line. I thought they held their own, and I thought they competed, and I thought they took a big step forward. And I thought they had taken a big step forward early in the year, sort of plateaued off a little bit, and I think they took another big step on Saturday.
It looks like Anthony is getting a lot more comfortable in the running game, too, with the way he's been contributing.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with his wheels. His ankles are well, and he looks way more mobile, like we saw early in the year against McNeese and against South Alabama. And we didn't see that in that interim stretch before the Georgia Southern game.
Did that have a lot to do with a little more of a conservative approach in some of those games in the middle of the season, or was that not?
Well, anytime for us, we've been the last 5 years a quarterback run-oriented team. Whether it's options, whether it's draws, whether moving the quarterback around. And when you're limited, where the quarterback, he still can sit in the pocket, still can throw. It didn't really affect that. But when you take away the quarterback runs, then they're all just keying on the one back in the backfield, and that somewhat took a little bit away of what we do. Not to say that was the entire reason, but it took a little bit away of what we like to do, and because we have always liked utilizing the quarterback as a second back in the backfield.
You mentioned senior day earlier. A guy like Morella, who kind of just found a way to contribute. What do you think it'll mean for him to step up on that?
Well, I'm going to be proud of the guy, because here's a guy like Morella that walked onto this football team, became the starting snapper, worked awfully hard, got put on scholarship his senior year. It's been an integral part of our team. Those guys I love, because I was a walk-on player, and I had to earn a scholarship, and which I didn't earn much of one. I was in Division II. We only got pieces of scholarships. But to see him come as far as he has come has been real rewarding, along with the rest of our seniors. I tell you, we've got so many different seniors that have so many different stories. And every story is different, and every story is special. And that's why, when you see what they've been through as individuals, as students, as football players, whether it's overcoming injuries, being out for the year and rehabbing, making it back, whether it's, having family issues, academic issues to overcome, to see the journeys that these seniors have endured for 4 or 5 years is pretty rewarding when they run out for the last time, and pretty emotional. I'm gonna be an emotional wreck as they're running out there to the field for the last time to give us a hug and to greet their parents, because after this season, you don't see them as much as you normally see them, and for the last 5 years, you see them every day, hours and hours every day, more than your own family, and so you can imagine how close you get to these kids. And then all of a sudden, when the season's over, poof, everybody sort of goes their separate ways, and they move on with life, whether they graduate in December and move to get a job, and whatever their course, whether they're moving on to the National Football League. And so it's always a very emotional time for me, because these kids put in so much to play this great game and to represent our university.
Another
It's going to be heartbreaking, but he's definitely going to be there and be recognized along with Cole Bork, another senior that didn't get to finish his senior season either. And we're all hurting for him. I would love, for us to make a bowl, because I think that if we made it to a bowl, Jalen would be healthy enough to at least dress, put on the uniform one more time and be on the sideline. And so, because it was really important to that kid, and he has come such a long ways, and that's another young man I've been so proud of.
You guys have really dominated the series at home. You're talking about playing Arkansas State, having the fans behind you in the series.
Well, we've had some great home contests versus those guys. 2 years ago, it was an outstanding slugfest against those guys at home, and our fans were a big part of that. It was a loud, crazy environment. We'll need a home field advantage again versus these guys, because they're an outstanding team. But that would add a lot to it, especially being senior day, I guess we should call it, not senior night, and send those guys off the right way. So it'll be a great challenge.
You mentioned it's basically a playoff mentality for your team right now to get into a bowl game. How do you feel they respond to the pressure?
Outstanding. I think you see their preparation yesterday and their focus. They know what lies ahead of them, and they know what they're capable of doing. And and I think they can really see in the last 2 or 3 weeks tangible improvement. And if we continue doing that, we still could have 3 games left. That's a lot of football left to be played. But they know for that to happen first, you've got to put yourself in position to first win this one. And so, but they love competing against those guys, and it'll be an outstanding competition.
Why'd you decide to change holders 19 of the season, and are you going to stick with that? How did he do?
Matter of fact, he did really good. He works all day with Steve all the time. It was just a situation where not only does he work with him all the time, but Sterling Miller is going to miss the next 2 games due to breaking a team rule, and so he will miss the remainder of the season. Still on the team, but we're handling that in-house, and so luckily Steve holds for Steve. Steve holds for Stevie all the time at practice, and it wasn't that much of a turnover, except for getting used to Steve Coots's Australian accent when he runs out on the field to call the formation. That was the biggest adjustment.
How would you describe the season so far?
Up and down, not to where we thought we would be. We really, coming in the season, had pretty high expectations, which we always do. We've never had a season here when we didn't have high expectations, to say the least. Really felt after the first game when we didn't play well. We had made some adjustments and came roaring back with 2, I thought, pretty solid wins, and then just sort of limped through a few games. And then now we feel like we've sort of caught new life, and we've got some new excitement to the guys, and you can see their progress. And really, though, starting to see the team come together, because you can see our quarterback and receivers you can start seeing some continuity, and it takes time to develop, but it's starting to come around, and you can see them be way more effective in the passing game. They've learned each other. They've had the spring ball in the summer now, which was this fall for those guys, and they're really starting to come together, and I think that's made a big difference. And so the team has just kept plugging away. They've improved, and especially offensively, and that's been the biggest piece of the latest resurgence, is that we've just been more competitive because the offense has been much better. And I think George has done a really nice job of opening things up. He's been very creative, and you can see the benefits in the last 3 offensive games.
You mentioned the pressure on the players. As a coach, what has the ride been like for you this season, dealing with all the adversity?
Well, that's just typical season. You never know what each season holds. Every football season is different, and that's the challenge and that's what makes this game so great, is you never know what awaits each season, whether it's injuries, whether it's adversity, You just never know. And so trying to navigate your team through rough waters and putting, you know, a new team together every year, boy, that's the challenge of it. And that's what makes this game so great. It's never the same. So I've been proud of our coaches, the way they've hung together. The coaches have kept working together for answers, and they really pulled this team together, and we're really playing really good, you know, much better. I wouldn't say really good. We're playing much better than we were mid-season, and we made good progress. And hopefully we can continue that these next two, and then into that third one. So, but it all will start this week, and the kids are working really hard too. They know they're feeling it. I think they feel a little momentum, even though we didn't win Saturday. I think they felt like, hey, you know what? We lined up and competed part of the time with an outstanding football team. We just got to play better early, and we've got to, you know, be a little more disciplined in doing our jobs. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.